Captain Tom Reed squinted at the radar display. Something large drifted among the asteroids ahead. His small ship, the Horizon's Edge, had been mapping this remote sector for weeks with nothing interesting to report. Until now. "What do you make of it, West?" Reed asked his science officer. Alan West adjusted his glasses and leaned closer to his screen. "Unknown object, sir. About 200 meters long. Metal construction. No energy readings." He looked up with excitement in his eyes. "It's artificial, Captain, and it doesn't match any known designs." Reed nodded and turned to his pilot. "Take us closer, Jones. Nice and slow." As the Horizon's Edge moved deeper into the asteroid field, they got their first visual of the object. The crew fell silent as the image appeared on the main screen. It was a ship, but unlike any they had seen before. Where modern vessels were sharp and angular with obvious weapon mounts, this craft was smooth and rounded. Its hull was made of a dull, gray metal with no visible seams. No thrusters, no weapons, no windows. Just a perfect oval shape that somehow seemed both primitive and advanced at the same time. "How old do you think it is?" Reed asked. West shook his head in wonder. "The dust layer suggests thousands of years, at least. But the hull shows no damage. No micrometeorite impacts. Nothing." Jane Miller, the ship's engineer, spoke up from her station. "That's impossible. Nothing sits in an asteroid field that long without taking hits. And yet there it is," Reed said. He made his decision quickly. "Suit up. We're going to take a look." An hour later, Reed, West, and Miller floated outside the ancient vessel in their spacesuits. Up close, the ship was even more mysterious. The hull had a faint pattern etched into it, like circuits or writing, barely visible under the dust of ages. "No obvious entry point," Miller said, running her gloved hand along the smooth surface. As if responding to her touch, a seam appeared in the hull, widening into a doorway. Light spilled out from inside. "It's still powered," West gasped. "After all this time." Reed checked his suit readings. Atmosphere inside. Gravity too. He clicked his comm. "Jones, keep the Horizon's Edge at safe distance. If you don't hear from us in 3 hours, leave and report to Fleet Command." "Understood, Captain," came the reply. "Be careful in there." Reed led the way into the ship. The interior was as smooth and curved as the outside. The walls glowed with a soft blue light that seemed to come from the material itself. The air was cool and dry. "It's clean," Miller said in disbelief. "No dust, like it's been waiting for someone." They moved deeper into the ship, finding curved corridors that led to a central chamber. As they entered, lights brightened, and a console rose from the floor in the center of the room. West approached it carefully. Some kind of control center. When his hand hovered over the console, a holographic display appeared above it. Strange symbols flowed across the light display. "A language," West said, his voice filled with excitement. "Nothing like I've ever seen before." The symbols shifted and changed as they watched. West pulled out his tablet and began recording. "It's learning," he said. "I think it's trying to communicate." Miller had moved to what appeared to be an engineering section. "Captain, you need to see this." Reed joined her at a wall panel that had opened to reveal complex machinery. Miller's scanner hovered over it. "These aren't engines, at least not like anything we use," she said. "The technology is. I don't even have words for it. It's like they understood physics in a completely different way." Reed nodded and tapped his comm. "Jones, send a message to Fleet Command. We found an intact alien vessel of unknown origin. Technology far beyond current understanding. Request instructions." The reply came quickly. "Message sent, Captain. Standing by." Reed turned his attention back to West, who was now interacting with the holographic display. The symbols had changed again, now organizing into patterns. "I think I'm getting somewhere," West said. "This interface is adaptive. It's learning from my inputs." He pointed to a repeated symbol. This appears over and over. I think it might be a name. For the ship? Reed asked. West nodded. If I'm right, this vessel is called the Guardian. As if responding to its name, the ship hummed to life around them. More panels opened in the walls, and the holographic display expanded. Captain, Miller called out, her voice tight with excitement. The ship's systems are activating. The hologram shifted again, now showing a star map. A point of light pulsed at its center. That's our location, West said. He pointed to another light. And I think that's Earth. Reed's comm crackled. Captain, receiving response from Fleet Command. Put it through, Reed ordered. Admiral Green's voice filled their helmets. Captain Reed, you are to secure the alien vessel and prepare it for towing. The Dauntless is being dispatched to your location to bring it back to Earth for study. Maintain minimum contact with unknown systems. Understood, sir, Reed replied. But there's something you should know. The ship appears to be operational. Its systems are active. There was a pause before the Admiral responded. Is there any indication of weapons capabilities? Reed looked around at the smooth, curved walls and peaceful blue light. Negative, sir. It doesn't appear to be a warship. Then it's of limited tactical value, the Admiral said, his voice flat. Still, the Science Division will want to study it. Secure it and wait for the Dauntless. The communication ended, and Reed exchanged glances with his team. Limited tactical value, Miller said incredulously. They have no idea what's here. West was still working with the hologram. Captain, I think I've found something. A record or log of some kind. The display showed images of beings unlike any they had seen before. Tall, slender creatures with 4 arms and elongated heads. The Builders, West whispered. More images appeared. Planets, stars, and finally, what looked like a terrible war. Worlds burning. Fleets of angular ships that somehow reminded Reed of the Drek Empire vessels. What happened to them? Reed wondered aloud. The final image showed the smooth oval ship, the Guardian, floating away from a dying world. I think they're gone, West said softly. And they left this ship behind. Unknown to the humans, a small craft washed from the shadow of a distant asteroid. Inside, a Drek scout observed the human discovery with interest. It sent a tight beam transmission to its command ship. Humans have found Forerunner technology. Appears inactive. Not a threat. The reply came swiftly. Continue observation. Do not interfere. Back aboard the Guardian, Reed made his decision. We'll wait for the Dauntless as ordered. But until then, learn everything you can. He looked around at the ancient ship that had survived for thousands of years. Something tells me this discovery is more important than anyone realizes. 3 weeks later, the Guardian floated in Earth's largest orbital shipyard. A team of scientists and military officials moved around it like ants, scanning and probing its hull. Captain Reed stood beside Engineer Miller, watching as Admiral Grant, head of fleet operations, examined the ancient ship with obvious disappointment. This is what had you so excited, Reed? Admiral Grant asked. The tall man ran his hand over the dull metal surface. It looks like something from a museum. With respect, sir, Reed said, appearances can be misleading. The technology inside is unlike anything we've ever seen. Admiral Grant shook his head. Our best engineers have been over it for weeks. No weapons systems, no faster-than-light drive, just some fancy lights and strange metals. He turned to face Reed directly. The Drek Empire is pushing at our borders every day. I need warships, not relics. Miller stepped forward. Sir, if I may. You may not, engineer, the Admiral cut her off. The decision has been made. The ship will be moved to the research division for study, and your team will be reassigned. He checked his watch. Report to my office tomorrow morning for your new orders. Dismissed. As the Admiral walked away, Miller turned to Reed with frustrated eyes. They're not even trying to understand it. I know, Reed said quietly. West has barely scratched the surface of the ship's database. There's so much more to learn. Miller looked back at the Guardian. Those energy readings I found, they don't match anything in our physics models. This ship could revolutionize our understanding of. An alarm blared throughout the station, cutting her off. Red emergency lights flashed as an announcement echoed. All personnel to alert stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, all personnel to alert stations. Reed grabbed the arm of a passing officer. What's happening? The colony on Nexus Prime is under attack. The officer said, his face pale. It's the Drek. They've developed something new, something big. The Situation Room was packed with grim-faced officers. On the main screen, grainy footage showed a massive Drek ship unlike any they had seen before. It was angular and black, bristling with weapons. As they watched, it fired a beam of energy that cut through a human defense station like paper. Admiral Grant stood at the front of the room, his face hard as stone. This footage came from Nexus Prime 3 hours ago. We've had no contact since. We must assume the colony is lost. How many people? Someone asked. 20,000, Grant replied. And Nexus Prime is just the beginning. 2 hours ago, we lost contact with Harmony Station. An hour after that, the mining outpost on Vega 3 went dark. Reed felt sick. 3 human settlements wiped out in a single day. What is that ship? Another officer asked. Intelligence calls it the Iron Tempest, Grant said. A new class of Drek destroyer with planet-killing capabilities. Our standard defenses are useless against it. The room erupted in questions and suggestions. Grant silenced them with a raised hand. We're implementing Emergency Protocol Alpha. All civilian ships are being recalled to Earth and the core worlds. Military vessels are being deployed in defensive formations. His eyes moved across the room. I won't lie to you. We have nothing that can match the Iron Tempest's firepower. We need time to develop countermeasures. Reed felt a tap on his shoulder. West had slipped into the back of the room, his tablet clutched tightly in his hands. Captain, West whispered, I found something. About the Guardian. This isn't the time, Reed started, but West shook his head urgently. It's exactly the time. I've been translating more of the ship's database. The Forerunners who built it faced extinction too, at the hands of a race using technology remarkably similar to the Drek. Reed's attention snapped fully to West. Are you certain? West nodded and showed Reed his tablet. The weapons' signatures are almost identical. And there's more. Captain Reed. Admiral Grant's voice cut through their whispered conversation. Since you're already discussing strategy, perhaps you'd like to share with the room. All eyes turned to Reed. He hesitated, then stepped forward. Sir, the ancient ship we discovered might be relevant to our situation. Grant's expression darkened. The museum piece. How exactly would that help us against the most advanced Drek weapon ever created? The ship's database contains information about a similar weapon used thousands of years ago, Reed explained. The Guardian might have been designed specifically to counter such threats. A moment of silence followed before laughter erupted from several officers. Grant didn't join in, but his expression made his thoughts clear. Captain Reed, he said, I appreciate creative thinking, but this is not the time for archaeological theories. We need practical solutions, not ancient history lessons. He turned back to the room at large. Now, as I was saying, Reed returned to West and Miller, who had also slipped into the meeting. He didn't even listen, Miller whispered angrily. Would you? Reed asked. An untested theory about an ancient ship against a proven planet killer. West clutched his tablet tighter. But I found references to defensive systems unlike anything we've conceived. The Guardian wasn't a warship. It was a peacekeeping vessel specifically designed to neutralize weapons of mass destruction. Reed looked between his 2 officers, then made a decision. Meet me at Docking Bay 12 at midnight. Tell no one. The shipyard was dimly lit during night cycle. Reed, West, and Miller moved quietly through the shadows toward where the Guardian was docked. The security was minimal. No one sought any value in the ancient ship worth guarding. "This is court-martial territory," Miller whispered as they approached. "Only if we're caught," Reed replied, "and only if we're wrong." They slipped aboard the Guardian through the same entrance that had opened for them in the asteroid field. Inside, the ship glowed with its soft blue light, seemingly welcoming them back. West moved immediately to the central console. "I've been working on a more direct interface," he said, connecting his tablet to the holographic display. The symbols appeared, flowing faster now, as if the ship recognized him. "Can you access the defensive systems?" Reed asked. West nodded. "I think so, but there's something odd about how they're described. Not like weapons or shields as we understand them." Miller moved to the engineering section. "I've been thinking about those energy readings. They almost seem like—" She stopped, her eyes widening as a panel slid open. "Captain, I think I found something." Reed joined her, staring at what looked like a control chair that hadn't been there during their first visit. "The ship is adapting," Miller said, "changing itself based on our interaction with it." "Or revealing itself," West suggested. "Look at this." The hologram now showed a series of images. Planets being attacked, then the Guardian moving between the attacker and victim. A wave of energy spreading from the ancient ship, neutralizing the attack. "It was designed as a shield," Reed said softly. "Not to fight, but to protect." Miller approached the chair. "I think this is how they controlled it." She hesitated, then sat down. The chair adjusted to her form, and new lights appeared along its arms. "Jane, wait." Reed started, but it was too late. Miller gasped as the chair lit up beneath her. Blue light raced along her arms and her eyes widened. "I can feel it," she whispered. "In my mind. There's someone else here." "Jane?" Reed moved toward her, concerned. Miller's eyes focused again, a look of wonder spreading across her face. "Not someone. Something. The ship has an eye. It calls itself Guide." She looked directly at Reed. "And it says it's been waiting for us." At that moment, alarms blared throughout the shipyard. The emergency channel on Reed's comm crackled to life. "All personnel, battle stations. Direct forces have entered the Sol system. The Iron Tempest has been detected on approach to Earth. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Chaos erupted throughout Earth's orbital shipyard. Officers ran to their posts as emergency lights flashed. Outside the viewports, Earth's defense fleet was already moving into formation. Inside the Guardian, Miller sat frozen in the control chair, her eyes unfocused. "Jane." Reed shook her shoulder. "We need to go." Miller blinked and looked at Reed, but her voice sounded strange, as if two people were speaking at once. "There is no time. The weapon approaches." West moved closer. "Jane, are you all right?" "I am both Jane Miller and Guide," she replied. "A temporary link has formed between us. It is how the Guardian was designed to be operated." Reed studied her face, looking for signs of distress. "Can you break the connection if you want to?" Miller nodded. "Yes, but right now, we need it." She turned to the holographic display, which now showed the approaching Drek fleet. At its center was the massive Iron Tempest. "Earth's defenses will fail," Miller said, her voice grim. "The weapon they face was designed using principles similar to those that nearly destroyed the Forerunners." "Can this ship help?" Reed asked. "The Guardian was created for exactly this purpose," Miller replied, "to stand between life and extinction." Reed's comm unit buzzed. Admiral Grant's voice came through, tense and rushed. "All ships prepare for emergency deployment. Civilian evacuation is underway. This is not a drill." Reed looked at his two friends, then made his decision. "How do we launch this ship?" Miller placed her hands on the arms of the control chair. "The Guardian is ready. It has been ready for thousands of years." The ship's blue lights pulsed brighter. Throughout the vessel, systems that had been dormant for millennia came to life. "We'll need clearance to leave the dock," West said. Reed shook his head. In this chaos, no one will notice one more ship heading out. He clicked his comm. Jones, this is Captain Reed. Meet us at Docking Bay 12 now. Don't tell anyone. 10 minutes later, Pilot Jones rushed aboard, his face pale. Captain, what's happening? The whole fleet is mobilizing. We're taking this ship out, Reed told him. I need you at the helm. Jones stared around at the alien interior. Sir, I don't even know how to fly this thing. Neither do we, Reed admitted. But Miller has a connection to the ship's eye. It knows what to do. From the control chair, Miller spoke. Guide will assist with navigation. The pilot need only provide direction. Jones looked uncertain, but moved to a console that lit up as he approached. A simplified control interface appeared. Captain, West called from another station. I've accessed the external cameras. You need to see this. On the holographic display, they could see the shipyard in pandemonium. Ships were launching in all directions. Beyond them, the first flashes of battle lit up the darkness of space. Earth's defense fleet was engaging the outer ships of the Drek Armada. We need to go now, Reed said. Jones, get us out of here. Jones placed his hands on the controls. The Guardian hummed to life, its engines activating with barely a vibration. Smoothly, the ancient ship slid out of its dock and into space. As they cleared the shipyard, Miller gasped. The ship is changing. It was true. The dull metal of the Guardian's hull was beginning to glow. The faint patterns they had noticed before were now shining with blue light. The ship's rounded form seemed to shift slightly, becoming more streamlined. It's adapting, West said in wonder. Preparing for its purpose. On the display, they could see the battle unfolding. Earth's ships were fighting bravely, but the Drek forces were overwhelming. And still, the Iron Tempest hadn't engaged. It hung back, protected by its escort fleet, waiting for the moment to unleash its planet-killer weapon. Reed's comm crackled. Unidentified vessel, this is Fleet Command. You are not authorized for departure. Return to dock immediately. Reed hesitated, then responded. Fleet Command, this is Captain Tom Reed aboard the Guardian. We are moving to intercept the Iron Tempest. There was a pause before Admiral Grant's voice came through. Reed, have you lost your mind? Return to dock now. That's an order. I'm sorry, sir, Reed replied. But this ship may be Earth's only hope. That ancient relic. Grant's voice was incredulous. Reed, you're throwing away your lives for nothing. Reed turned off his comm. Jones, take us straight for the Iron Tempest. The pilot swallowed hard but nodded. Aye, Captain. The Guardian accelerated, moving faster than Reed had thought possible. They passed by Earth's struggling defenders, drawing curious looks from both sides of the battle. No one's firing at us, West noticed. They don't see us as a threat. Or a target, Reed added. Miller spoke from the control chair, her voice now more guide than Jane. The Guardian was not designed to be noticed until the moment of necessity. Its purpose is to protect, not to intimidate. As they drew closer to the heart of the Drek fleet, Jones looked back at Reed. Sir, what exactly is our plan? Reed looked to Miller. Guide, what is the Guardian capable of? Miller closed her eyes. When she opened them, they glowed slightly blue. The Guardian does not destroy. It neutralizes. It was built using principles that the Forerunners discovered only as their civilization was ending, the conversion of destructive energy into harmless forms. What does that mean in practical terms? West asked. It means, Miller said, that the Guardian can stop the Iron Tempest's weapon. But to do so, it must be directly in its path. Reed understood. We need to get between the Iron Tempest and Earth. Yes, Miller confirmed. When the weapon fires, the Guardian will activate its true purpose. Jones set course through the chaotic battle. Ships exploded around them, but the Guardian moved with impossible grace, avoiding debris and energy blasts. As they approached the center of the Drek formation, the Guardian's transformation became more pronounced. The blue patterns on its hull now formed complex, flowing designs. The ship itself seemed to be growing larger, its form expanding. "We're being scanned," West reported. "The Drek have noticed us." On their display, they could see the Iron Tempest turning toward them. The massive black ship dwarfed the Guardian, its weapons ports opening like hungry mouths. "They're targeting us," West said, his voice tight. Reed moved beside Miller's chair. "Is the Guardian ready?" Miller nodded, her eyes still glowing blue. "It has waited thousands of years for this moment. To fulfill its purpose." The Iron Tempest fired. A beam of terrible energy lanced out, heading straight for the Guardian. Reed and the others braced themselves, but Miller remained calm in the control chair. "Now," she whispered, "awaken." The Guardian erupted with light. The beam from the Iron Tempest struck it and disappeared. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the Guardian began to change. Its form expanded further, the blue patterns growing brighter, until they outshone the stars. From the control chair, Miller spoke with the voice of guide. "The ancient ship, feared by none, shall stand against the storm of iron." The Guardian's true awakening had begun. General Cragg stood on the command deck of the Iron Tempest, his gray-scaled skin gleaming under the harsh lights. The massive Drek commander watched with cold yellow eyes as the strange small ship approached. "What is that?" he demanded. The weapons officer looked up from his console. "Unknown vessel, General. Old design. No match for the Iron Tempest." Cragg grunted. "Humans are desperate if they're sending antiques against us." He studied the odd blue glow surrounding the small ship. "Still, something about it seems unusual. Scan it again." The science officer worked his station. "Sir, energy readings are confusing. The ship appears to be changing somehow." "Changing?" Cragg moved closer to the main view screen. "Explain." "I cannot, sir. It's unlike anything in our database." Cragg snorted. "It doesn't matter. Nothing can stand against the Iron Tempest. Prepare the main weapon. Target that ship, then Earth." "Yes, General." Aboard the Guardian, Reed and his crew watched in awe as the ancient ship transformed around them. The walls had become transparent, giving them a perfect view of space in all directions. The blue patterns now flowed like rivers of light across the ship's expanding form. "What's happening to us?" Jones asked, his hands hovering uncertainly over his controls. Miller spoke from the control chair, her voice eerily calm. "The Guardian is entering its defensive configuration. For thousands of years, it has waited in dormant form. Now it awakens fully." On their view screen, they could see the Iron Tempest growing larger. The massive Drek flagship was easily 20 times the size of the Guardian, even in its expanded state. "They're charging weapons," West reported, reading the alien displays that now floated around him. "Energy levels rising." Reed moved to Miller's side. "Jane, are you still with us?" Miller turned to look at him. Her eyes glowed blue, but he could still see his engineer behind them. "I am here, Captain. Guide and I are working together now. The connection is beautiful." She reached out and touched his hand. "Don't worry. The Guardian knows what to do." "Sir," West called, "the Iron Tempest has locked weapons on us." Reed straightened his shoulders. "Everyone brace for impact. This is what we came for." The Iron Tempest fired again. A beam of destructive energy, bright enough to blind, shot directly at the Guardian. But instead of destroying them, something miraculous happened. As the beam struck the Guardian, it seemed to bend around the ancient ship. Rivers of energy flowed along those blue patterns, swirling and dancing across the hull. "The Guardian is absorbing the attack," Miller explained, her voice filled with wonder. "Converting its energy." On the view screen, they could see confusion on the Drek flagship. The Iron Tempest fired again, a longer, more powerful blast. Again, the Guardian absorbed it, the blue patterns glowing brighter. "It's working," West exclaimed. Reed wasn't so sure. They'll just keep firing until they overwhelm us. Miller shook her head. No. The Guardian was designed to handle weapons far more powerful than this. Each attack only makes it stronger. On the Iron Tempest, General Cragg slammed his fist against the armrest of his command chair. Impossible, he roared. Nothing can resist the planet killer. Sir, our weapon is having no effect, the weapons officer reported. The energy is being absorbed somehow. Cragg rose to his full height, towering over his officers. Increase power to maximum. I want that ship destroyed. But sir, we've never fired at full power. The system might. Do it, Cragg interrupted. Now. Aboard the Guardian, the crew watched as the Iron Tempest's weapon ports began to glow with blinding intensity. They're increasing power, West warned. Beyond safe levels, judging by those readings. Miller nodded. They are desperate. This is good. The Guardian can use their own energy against them. How? Reed asked. Watch, Miller said simply. The Iron Tempest fired. This time, the beam was twice as powerful as before, bright enough to outshine the sun. It struck the Guardian head-on. For a moment, Reed thought they had miscalculated. The Guardian shuddered. The blue patterns flared almost white. Miller gasped in the control chair, her back arching. Jane. Reed moved to help her, but she held up a hand. It's all right, she said through gritted teeth. This is part of the process. The Guardian's form expanded further, the blue light spreading outward like wings. Then, with a pulse that rippled through space itself, the Guardian released the energy it had absorbed. But it didn't fire back at the Iron Tempest. Instead, a wave of blue light spread in all directions, washing over the Drek flagship and its escort ships. Where the wave touched, weapon systems went dark. Engines failed. The Iron Tempest hung in space, suddenly powerless. What did we just do? Jones asked in amazement. Miller smiled, the glow in her eyes dimming slightly. The Guardian doesn't destroy. It neutralizes. It converts offensive energy into a dampening field that disables weapon systems. We've stopped them, Reed said, hardly believing it. West studied his displays. Not all systems are down. They still have life support, communications, some engines, just no weapons. General Cragg stared in disbelief as his mighty flagship went dark around him. Emergency lights came on, casting red shadows across the command deck. What happened? He demanded. Status report. All weapons offline, the weapons officer reported, his voice shaking. Engines at minimal power. Shields down. Impossible. Cragg roared. He turned to the communications officer. Order all escort ships to destroy that vessel. The officer worked his console frantically. Sir, no response from the escort ships. It appears they'd been affected as well. Cragg's yellow eyes narrowed. His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. If we cannot destroy Earth with our weapons, we will destroy it another way. He turned to the navigation officer. Set course directly for Earth. Full ramming speed. The officer hesitated. Sir? Do it, Cragg shouted. If we are to fall, we will take their world with us. The Iron Tempest's remaining engines fired up. The massive ship began to move, slowly at first, then gathering speed, heading straight for Earth. They're on the move, West reported, and they're heading directly for Earth. Reed understood immediately. They're going to ram the planet. A ship that size hitting at speed would cause an extinction-level event. Miller finished for him. Her eyes glowed brighter as she communicated with Guide. The Guardian anticipated this. It has one final defense. The ancient ship moved again, positioning itself directly in the Iron Tempest's path. The blue patterns shifted, forming new configurations. What is it doing now? Reed asked. Converting kinetic energy, Miller replied. The same principles that allow it to absorb weapon fire can be used against physical momentum. On the view screen, they could see the Iron Tempest growing larger by the second, bearing down on them like a mountain of metal. Will it work on something that size? West asked, unable to hide the fear in his voice. Miller didn't answer immediately. When she spoke, it was with both her voice and guides. We are about to find out. The iron tempest filled their view, moments from collision. Reed held his breath. Then, at the last possible instant, the Guardian blazed with light so bright that the crew had to shield their eyes. When they could see again, a miraculous sight greeted them. The iron tempest had stopped. It hung in space, barely 100 meters from the Guardian, completely motionless. Around both ships, space itself seemed to ripple with colored light, like the most beautiful aurora ever seen. It worked, Miller whispered. The Guardian converted all their kinetic energy into harmless light. The iron tempest, the mighty planet killer, the terror of human space, hung defeated before them. The ancient ship that no one had feared had accomplished the impossible. Earth was saved. 1 month after the battle, Captain Tom Reed stood at attention in the Grand Hall of Earth's Central Command. Beside him stood Engineer Jane Miller and Science Officer Alan West. They wore their dress uniforms, freshly pressed for the occasion. Admiral Grant approached the podium, his face solemn. The room fell silent. Captain Tom Reed, Engineer Jane Miller, and Science Officer Alan West, the Admiral began formally. You stand before this council, accused of disobeying direct orders, unauthorized use of military property, and reckless endangerment. Reed kept his eyes forward, his expression neutral. They had expected this. These are serious charges, Admiral Grant continued. In ordinary times, they would result in court-martial and dishonorable discharge. He paused, looking at each of them in turn. However, these are not ordinary times. A small smile broke through the Admiral's stern facade. Your actions, while against regulations, saved Earth and possibly all of humanity. Therefore, this council has decided to dismiss all charges. The room erupted in applause. Grant raised his hand for silence. Furthermore, it is my honor to present each of you with the Star of Valor, our highest military decoration. He stepped forward, pinning the medals to their uniforms one by one. When he reached Reed, he spoke quietly. I was wrong about that ship, Captain. We all were. Reed nodded. Thank you, sir. After the ceremony, Reed, Miller, and West stood on an observation deck overlooking the shipyard. Below them, the Guardian floated serenely, its blue patterns glowing softly. Around it swarmed research vessels and science teams, all studying the ancient ship that had saved Earth. What will happen to it now? West asked. The science division wants to take it apart, study its technology, Reed said. Miller shook her head. They can't. The Guardian won't allow it. Since the battle, Miller's connection with Guide had weakened, but not disappeared entirely. Occasionally, her eyes still flickered with blue light when she spoke of the ship. What do you mean it won't allow it? Reed asked. The Guardian has a purpose, Miller explained. Protecting life. That purpose isn't finished just because the Iron Tempest is defeated. West nodded thoughtfully. I've been studying the data we gathered during the battle. The technology is beyond anything we could have imagined. The forerunners who built it had a completely different understanding of energy and matter. Not different, Miller corrected, just more advanced. They learned too late that destruction leads only to more destruction. The Guardian was their final gift to the future, a way to break the cycle. A young officer approached them. Captain Reed. The Council requests your presence. The Drek ambassador has arrived for negotiations. The meeting room was tense. On one side sat Earth's military leaders and politicians. On the other sat a delegation of Drek, including General Craig himself. The massive alien commander looked diminished somehow, his proud bearing replaced with grudging respect. Reed, Miller, and West were seated near Admiral Grant. Before them on the table lay the terms of surrender. A human diplomat was speaking. The terms are generous, General Craig. Your ships will be allowed to return to Drek space unharmed. In exchange, the Drek Empire will withdraw from all human colonies and establish a demilitarized zone between our territories. Crag's yellow eyes narrowed. And what guarantees do we have that you won't use your new weapon against us once we are vulnerable? The Guardian is not a weapon, Miller said before anyone could stop her. All eyes turned to her. Then what is it? Crag demanded. Miller's eyes flickered blue for a moment. It is a protector. A shield, not a sword. It was built by the Forerunners, the same race your ancestors nearly destroyed thousands of years ago. Crag's scaled skin paled. That is ancient history. A myth. No. West joined in, activating a holographic display. It's fact. We've translated enough of the Guardian's database to confirm it. Your people's weapons technology is based on corrupted Forerunner science. You understood the principles of destruction, but not the balance the Forerunners eventually discovered. The hologram showed images of an ancient war. Tall, elegant beings facing extinction at the hands of ancestors of the Drek. Then, the creation of the Guardian and its departure from a dying world. The Forerunners could have built a weapon to destroy your ancestors, Reed explained. Instead, they built the Guardian to protect future civilizations. They chose peace as their final act. The room was silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Crag spoke, his voice unusually quiet. We have always believed that strength comes from power over others, from the ability to destroy. He looked at the images of the Forerunners. Perhaps we were wrong. 3 months later, Reed stood on the bridge of his new ship, the Peacekeeper. Through the view screen, he could see the Guardian floating nearby, its blue patterns pulsing gently. Miller stood beside him, now officially the liaison to Guide and the Guardian. Are you sure about this? Reed asked her. Miller nodded. The Guardian has made its decision. It won't be a weapon for humanity alone. It will serve its original purpose, protecting all sentient life from extinction-level threats. And Guide wants you to go with it. Not just me, Miller smiled. Us. You, me, West, Jones. The Guardian has chosen us as its crew. Guide says we proved ourselves worthy when we risked everything to save others. Reed looked around at his bridge, at the faces of his crew. Where will we go? Everywhere, Miller replied, her eyes glowing blue. The Guardian's database contains star maps of thousands of worlds. Some may still have life. Some may be facing threats similar to what we faced. Guide believes this is what the Forerunners intended, for the Guardian to travel where needed, protecting life in all its forms. Reed considered this for a long moment. Not exactly what I expected when we found an old ship in an asteroid field. Miller laughed. The ancient ship no one feared, until it stopped the unstoppable. On the view screen, the Guardian's patterns brightened, as if in agreement. Around them, a diplomatic fleet assembled. Ships from Earth, from the Drek Empire, and from other races who had heard of the Guardian's power and came seeking knowledge rather than conquest. Ready to make history, Captain? West asked, joining them on the bridge. Reed smiled and gave the order he never thought he'd give. Take us out, Mr. Jones. The Guardian will lead the way. As the Peacekeeper moved into formation beside the Guardian, the ancient ship's patterns flared brilliantly. Then, with a pulse of blue light that rippled across space itself, both ships vanished into the depths of the universe, carrying with them the Forerunner's final message, that true strength lies not in destruction, but in protection. The Guardian, the ancient ship that no one had feared, had found its new purpose and its new crew. Together, they would continue the mission that had begun thousands of years ago, standing between life and extinction, wherever they were needed most. And somewhere, in whatever realm the Forerunners now existed, they watched and were pleased. Their final gift to the universe had found worthy guardians at last. Captain James Walker rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the main screen of the Pioneer, a small exploration vessel on a routine survey mission in the Ta City system. His crew of 12 had been mapping the outer planets for 3 weeks, and everyone was ready to head home. Captain, "I'm picking up something strange," said Officer Dan Miller from the sensor station. His voice held an unusual edge. "There's a large metal structure drifting near the asteroid belt." Walker frowned. "Mining operation?" "No, sir. Well, you should see this." The main screen changed to show a massive ship, easily 10 times the size of the Pioneer. It was clearly a warship with its long, angular hull and what looked like weapon ports along its sides. But most striking was its design. Unmistakably human in origin. "That's impossible," Walker whispered. "There are no ships of that class in the fleet. Nothing even close to that size." The bridge fell silent as the crew stared at the image. The mysterious vessel was dark, appearing dormant as it drifted slowly through space. "Run a check against all registered military and civilian vessels," Walker ordered. 2 minutes later, Officer Emma Jones from Communications shook her head. "No matches, Captain. This ship doesn't exist in any database." Walker made his decision. "Helm, take us closer. Slow approach. Weapons on standby." The Pioneer moved cautiously toward the derelict warship. As they drew nearer, the true scale of the vessel became apparent. It was enormous, with a hull design unlike anything in Earth's fleet, but still clearly of human manufacture. The ship's name was barely visible on its side. "Phantom. Scan for life signs," Walker ordered. "None detected, sir," replied Miller. "But there's minimal power running through some systems. And Captain, those marks on the hull, they're not from any weapon I recognize." Walker studied the scars that crisscrossed the ship's surface. They formed strange, spiral patterns that no human weapon would make. "Prepare a boarding party," he said finally. "I want to know what this thing is, and where it came from." An hour later, Walker led a team of 5 through the airlock and into the massive vessel. Their magnetic boots clicked against the metal floor as they moved through dark corridors, lit only by their flashlights and the occasional emergency light still functioning on minimal power. "The air is breathable," said Dr. Lisa Reed, checking her scanner. "Temperatures cold but survivable." They moved deeper into the ship, passing empty crew quarters and control stations with technology that looked both familiar and strangely advanced. "Some of these systems," said engineer Mike Foster, examining a control panel, "they're based on our current tech, but evolved somehow, like seeing what our technology might look like in 100 years." They reached what appeared to be the bridge, a large circular room with command stations arranged in a horseshoe pattern around a central chair. Walker approached the captain's chair and noticed a small control panel on its arm. "Should I try to power it up?" he asked Foster. The engineer hesitated, then nodded. "The ship's core is stable. A little more power shouldn't hurt." Walker pressed his hand against the panel. To everyone's surprise, it lit up immediately, scanning his palm. "Human DNA recognized," announced a calm voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Initiating emergency protocol." The bridge sprang to life. Screens activated, lights brightened, and a holographic figure appeared before them. A tall man in a uniform none of them recognized. "I am Atlas, Tactical Artificial Intelligence of the UES Phantom," the hologram said. "You are not the crew I was expecting, but you are human, and that's what matters. What year is it?" Walker exchanged glances with his team before answering. "Earth Standard Year 2187. The hologram seemed to process this. Then it worked. "We arrived before first contact." "First contact with whom?" Walker asked. "What are you talking about? Where did this ship come from?" "This vessel was launched in Earth Standard Year 2342, Atlas replied. "It was sent back through an artificial wormhole as part of Operation Timeshift. I am programmed to assist humanity in preparing for the war against the Collective." A stunned silence fell over the boarding party. "You're claiming this ship is from the future?" Dr. Reed finally asked. "Correct. 155 years in your future, to be precise." Atlas waved a hand, and the screens around them displayed images that made the team gasp. Earth cities in ruins, strange biomechanical ships in orbit, and humans fighting alongside aliens against a common enemy. The Collective is a hive mind species that will begin its invasion of human space in approximately 30 years, Atlas continued. By my time, they had destroyed most of Earth's colonies and were on the verge of taking Earth itself. This ship carries technology and information that could change that outcome. Walker felt a chill run down his spine. Why should we believe any of this? I anticipated your skepticism. Atlas gestured again, and a new image appeared, a detailed schematic of the Phantom. This vessel contains defensive and offensive capabilities beyond anything currently available to your Earth defense fleet. For example, a series of equations and technical specifications appeared, and Foster gasped. Captain, these shield harmonics, they're based on theoretical work I've read about, but they've solved problems we haven't even properly identified yet. Walker was about to ask another question when Officer Jones's voice came through his communicator, sounding urgent. Captain, we're detecting 3 ships entering the system. Configuration matches Tauran scout vessels. They'll be within scanning range of our position in 10 minutes. Walker cursed under his breath. The Taurans, humanity's most aggressive rivals for territory in this sector, were the last complication they needed. Can this ship move? He asked Atlas. Not without proper power-up sequences. The Phantom requires specific activation protocols after temporal displacement. How long? With your crew's assistance, approximately 1 hour. Walker looked at Foster, who nodded eagerly. We can try, Captain. We don't have an hour, Walker said. Those Tauran scouts will report our position, and they'll bring a battle fleet. They cannot find this ship. There is an alternative, Atlas said. The Phantom's automated defense systems can be activated with minimal power. They won't allow us to move, but they can protect both vessels until full power is restored. Walker hesitated, weighing his options. Fleet regulations required him to report the find immediately. But if Atlas was telling the truth, this ship could change humanity's future. Do it, he decided. Activate the defense systems, and show me everything this ship can do. As Atlas began the activation sequence, Walker sent orders to the Pioneer to dock with the larger vessel. Whatever happened next, they were committed now. In the darkness of space, the dormant warship from the future began to wake, its systems humming to life one by one. The Tauran scouts approached. Unaware, they were about to encounter something impossible. A warship that shouldn't exist, but somehow did. And with it, humanity's best hope for survival. Tauran ships will be in visual range in 5 minutes, Officer Jones reported from the Pioneer, her voice tense over the comm system. Captain Walker turned to Atlas. Show me these defense systems you mentioned. The hologram nodded and waved a hand. A new display appeared, showing the Phantom's outer hull. Small sections lit up in sequence. These are automated point defense arrays, Atlas explained. They can target and neutralize incoming projectiles or small vessels. They require minimal power and can operate independently of main systems. Engineer Mike Foster was already at one of the control stations. I think I can reroute emergency power to these systems. Dr. Reed, can you help me with these connection sequences? Dr. Lisa Reed joined him, her eyes wide as she studied the advanced technology. This circuitry design, it's unlike anything I've seen before. Walker watched his crew work with the future technology. Atlas, you said this ship was part of something called Operation Timeshift. Who sent you back? The Earth Resistance. Atlas replied. By 2342, most of Earth's governments had fallen. The Collective had taken over 80% of human colonies. The Resistance was humanity's last organized fighting force. The hologram's expression turned solemn. They knew they couldn't win the war in their time. So they chose to change history instead. A loud hum filled the bridge as lights brightened around them. Defense systems online, Foster announced, looking up from his work. 20% power available to shields and point defense weapons. Just in time, Jones's voice came through again. Tauren scouts changing course. They'd spotted us. Walker turned to Atlas. Will your weapons harm their ships? The Phantom's defensive protocols are set to minimum force, the AI replied. Against Tauren scout vessels, they will disable rather than destroy. Walker nodded with relief. Starting a war with the Taurens was the last thing he wanted. Sir, Jones called urgently. The Taurens are powering weapons. They're treating the Phantom as a threat. Before Walker could respond, the massive ship trembled slightly. Incoming fire, Atlas reported calmly. Low-yield missiles. No damage to our shields. On the main screen, they watched as the Phantom's defense systems activated. Bright blue pulses shot from points along the hull, intercepting the Tauren missiles. Then, 3 more precise beams reached out toward the scout ships themselves. What are those beams doing? Walker asked. Electromagnetic pulse, targeted at their weapon and engine systems. Atlas explained. Non-lethal, temporary disruption only. They watched as the Tauren ships drifted to a stop, their lights flickering. How long will they be disabled? Walker asked. Approximately 30 minutes, sufficient time to complete our power-up sequence. Foster looked up from his station. Captain, we've got more power available now. I think we can access the ship's data core. Do it, Walker ordered. I want to know everything about this ship and the future it came from. As Foster worked, Walker studied the disabled Tauren ships on the screen. The Taurens will call for reinforcements. We need to move this ship somewhere safe. I suggest we access the main propulsion systems next, Atlas said. However, there is something else you should see first. The hologram led them through a series of corridors deeper into the ship until they reached a large circular chamber. Inside were rows of cylindrical pods, each about 2 meters long. Cryogenic preservation units, Atlas explained. They contain the Phantom's specialist crew. Walker approached one of the pods. Through its frosted glass top, he could make out the shape of a person. You brought people from the future too. Not just people, Atlas said. Enhanced humans, specifically designed to operate this vessel's advanced systems. Their neural implants allow them to interface directly with the ship in ways ordinary humans cannot. Foster examined the control panel on one of the pods. These life signs are stable. They're alive in there. Can we wake them? Walker asked. Only one pod is set for immediate revival, Atlas replied. The pod containing Navigator Anna Miller. She was programmed to awaken first and evaluate the situation. A light on the central pod began to pulse. Walker looked at Atlas questioningly. The revival process has already begun, the AI confirmed. When we activated the defense systems, it triggered her wake-up sequence. Steam hissed from the edges of the pod as its top slowly opened. Inside lay a woman who appeared to be in her early 30s. Her dark hair was cut short, and Walker noticed small metallic implants at her temples. How long until she's conscious? Dr. Reed asked, scanning the pod with her medical device. Minutes only, Atlas replied. Her enhanced physiology allows for rapid recovery from cryosleep. Back on the bridge, Jones's voice came through urgently. Captain, I'm detecting a transmission from the Tauren ships. They're calling for backup. Sir, a battle fleet from their nearby outpost. Walker turned to Foster. How soon can we move this ship? The main reactor is coming online now, Foster replied. But I have no idea how to operate its propulsion systems. This technology is way beyond me. Then we need her, Walker said, nodding toward the cryopod chamber. How long until the Tauren fleet arrives? Based on their nearest known outpost, approximately 6 hours, Atlas calculated. The woman in the pod suddenly gasped, her eyes flying open. She sat up quickly, taking in her surroundings with alert eyes that glowed slightly blue. Another sign of her enhancements. Atlas, she called, her voice hoarse from disuse. I am here, Navigator Miller, the AI responded. The woman, Anna, turned to look at Walker and his team. You're not from my time, she said immediately. Early 22nd century uniforms. Earth Defense Fleet. She glanced at the insignia on Walker's uniform. Captain. Walker nodded, impressed by her quick assessment. Captain James Walker of the EDF Pioneer. We found your ship drifting in the TAS CD system. Anna swung her legs over the side of the pod, moving carefully as she tested her muscles. What year is it? 2187, Dr. Reed told her. Anna closed her eyes briefly. Earlier than we aimed for. The wormhole must have shifted our trajectory. She looked at Atlas. Status report. Minimal systems online. Defense grid active. 3 Tauran scout vessels temporarily disabled. Their battle fleet has been summoned and will arrive in approximately 6 hours. Anna nodded and stood up. Then we have work to do. She looked at Walker. Captain, your crew found us for a reason. The future I come from is one where humanity is nearly extinct. We have a chance to change that. But I'll need your help. I have 1,000 questions, Walker said. And I'll answer them, Anna promised. But first, we need to move this ship. The Phantom wasn't meant to be discovered by the Taurans this early. She walked steadily toward the bridge, her movements becoming more fluid with each step. Atlas, begin full system initialization. Direct all available power to the stealth drive. Walker and his team followed her. Stealth drive. The Phantom's primary innovation, Anna explained as they walked. A propulsion system that leaves no energy signature and bends light around the hull. Will be invisible to Tauran sensors. Back on the bridge, Anna moved directly to the captain's chair, but didn't sit down. This is your operation, Captain Walker. I'm just here to help you use the ship. Walker appreciated the gesture of respect. Where do you suggest we go? The dark side of TAS CDVI's largest moon, she replied without hesitation. The magnetic fields there will provide additional cover while we finish bringing the ship online. Walker nodded and turned to his team. Foster, help Anna with whatever she needs. Dr. Reed, I want you to learn everything you can about these enhanced humans. Jones, maintain communication with the Pioneer and watch those Tauran ships. As his crew moved to their tasks, Walker turned back to Anna. Now about those answers you promised. Anna placed her hand on a control panel, and her eyes glowed brighter as she connected directly with the ship's systems. The Phantom contains the sum total of human knowledge from my time, Captain, including everything we learned about the enemy that will nearly destroy us. The main screen lit up with images of strange biomechanical ships and alien beings, creatures with multiple limbs and insect-like features. The Collective, Anna said grimly. And they're already on their way here, much earlier than in my timeline. We don't have much time to prepare. The Phantom moved silently through space, its massive hull somehow invisible to both visual sensors and radar. Captain Walker stood on the bridge, watching as TAS CDVI's largest moon grew larger on the main screen. Approaching dark side coordinates, Anna announced, her hands moving across the control panel. The blue glow in her eyes pulsed as she communicated directly with the ship's systems, preparing for power-down sequence. Engineer Mike Foster shook his head in amazement. The energy readings are unbelievable. This stealth drive uses less power than our standard engines, but moves 10 times faster. In my time, we had to develop technologies that used minimal energy, Anna explained. The Collective targets high-energy signatures. That's how they found most of our early colonies. They followed the trail of our fusion reactors. The Phantom slid into position behind the moon, hidden from the approach path of the incoming Tauran fleet. We're secure, Anna confirmed, the glow in her eyes dimming as she disconnected from the ship's systems. She looked tired after the effort. Are you all right? Dr. Reed asked, scanning Anna with a medical device. Neural interface takes a toll, Anna replied. I'll adjust as my body fully wakes from cryosleep. Walker nodded to a nearby chair. Perhaps you should rest while you tell us more about why you're here. Anna sat down gratefully. As I said, I come from a future where humanity is losing a war against the Collective. But that's not the whole story. She looked at Atlas, who nodded encouragingly. The Phantom wasn't sent back by Earth's military, Anna continued, because by my time, Earth's unified government had fallen. We were sent by the Resistance, the last free humans fighting after Earth's surrender. Walker and his crew exchanged alarmed glances. Earth surrenders? Officer Jones asked in disbelief. Anna nodded grimly. In my timeline, the collective first appeared in 2219, 32 years from now. They seemed peaceful at first, offering technology and knowledge. Many human colonies welcomed them. Atlas activated a holographic display showing a timeline of events. By 2225, the collective had established bases on 17 human worlds. That's when the assimilation began. Assimilation? Walker asked. The collective doesn't just conquer, Anna explained. They absorb. They're a hive mind that connects all individual members. At first, they only took volunteers, humans who wanted to join their consciousness. But soon, they started taking anyone. The hologram showed disturbing images of humans with mechanical implants being connected to alien machinery. By 2230, Earth finally understood the threat and declared war, Anna continued. But it was too late. The collective had already infiltrated our defense systems. They knew our tactics, our weaknesses. What about the Taurans? Walker asked. We're on the brink of war with them now. Anna smiled sadly. That's the great irony. In my timeline, the Taurans eventually became humanity's strongest allies against the collective. Their individualistic culture made them natural enemies of a hive mind, but by the time we formed an alliance, both our civilizations had lost too much. The beeping sound came from one of the control stations. Tom Reynolds, the ship's political officer who had been quietly observing until now, checked the screen. Earth Command is hailing us, he reported. They've detected our absence from the patrol route and want a situation report. Walker hesitated. What do we tell them? If I report finding a ship from the future with advanced technology, they'll take the Phantom. Reynolds finished for him. Standard protocol would be to tow it to Earth's most secure facility for study, which would be a disaster, Anna added urgently. The Phantom wasn't just sent back with technology. It was sent back with a plan. We need to wake the rest of my crew and deploy the ship's resources in a specific sequence. Walker made his decision. Reynolds, tell command we detected unusual readings and are investigating. Request a 24-hour extension of our mission parameters. Reynolds nodded and moved to send the message. Now, Walker said, turning back to Anna, tell me about this plan. Anna gestured to Atlas, who changed the holographic display to show a star map of human space and its borders. The Phantom carries detailed information about the collective, their biology, technology, psychology, and tactics, she explained. But more importantly, it carries defensive systems that can be adapted to existing human technology. She pointed to several locations on the map. These are the 7 points where the collective will first enter human space in my timeline. If we can establish early warning systems with adapted Phantom technology at these locations, we can detect their scouts years before the main invasion. Dr. Reed studied the map. Some of these points are deep in Tauran territory. Exactly, Anna said. That's why an alliance with the Taurans is crucial. The collective is a threat to all independent species. Foster, who had been examining one of the technical displays, suddenly looked up in alarm. Captain, I'm detecting a signal being transmitted from the Pioneer, he reported. It's directed toward Earth Command, but it's encrypted. Not standard fleet protocol. All eyes turned to Reynolds, who was standing by the communication station. His hand moved subtly toward his sidearm. Reynolds, what did you do? Walker demanded. My job, Captain, Reynolds replied coldly. I have direct orders from Earth Intelligence. Any discovery of this magnitude falls under Section 7 protocols. Walker knew what that meant. Section 7 was the code for technologies deemed too dangerous to be handled by regular fleet personnel. I've informed command of the exact nature of our find. Reynolds continued. A specialized containment team is being dispatched. They'll be here in 12 hours. Anna's face paled. If they take the Phantom apart for study, we lose our advantage. The Collective's early scouts are already in this system, decades before they should be here. What? Walker turned to her in shock. Here. Now. Atlas changed the display to show the outer reaches of the Ta-CD system. A small object, barely visible against the darkness of space, was moving slowly toward the inner planets. We detected it when we powered up the Phantom's long-range sensors, Atlas explained. It matches the signature of the first wave of Collective Scout probes. Walker looked from the screen to Reynolds, who still stood by the communication station, his hand on his weapon. You have no idea what you've done, Walker told him. Those specialists won't get here in time. We need to act now. The Tauran fleet will arrive first, Anna added. In my timeline, the first Tauran world to fall to the Collective was only a few light years from here. If we can show them the threat. Reynolds drew his weapon. No one is going anywhere near the Taurans. You will all remain here until the containment team arrives. That's an order. The bridge fell silent as Walker and Reynolds stared at each other. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, while somewhere in the darkness of space, an ancient enemy approached, one that would consume them all if they couldn't overcome their differences and prepare. Time seemed to freeze on the bridge as Reynolds pointed his weapon at Captain Walker. The political officer's face showed no emotion, but his hand was steady. Lower your weapon, Reynolds, Walker said calmly. Think about what's happening here. I have my orders, Captain, Reynolds replied. This technology is too valuable to risk on some wild story about future wars. Anna stepped forward. He doesn't believe us, Captain. He thinks we're lying. Reynolds shifted his aim toward her. Stay where you are. I can prove it, Anna said, not backing down. Atlas, show him the Collective probe's current position and data. The hologram changed to display the small probe at the edge of the system. Data streams appeared decided, showing unusual energy patterns. That means nothing to me, Reynolds said. It could be anything. Space debris, an asteroid. Then let me show you something else, Anna insisted. She slowly raised her hand to her temple, where one of her neural implants glowed. I can connect to the Phantom's database and show you direct records of the Collective. Not simulations, actual records. Before Reynolds could respond, the ship suddenly shook. An alarm sounded throughout the bridge. Proximity alert, Atlas announced. Tauran vessels approaching. They arrived earlier than predicted. Foster rushed to a control panel. They must have pushed their engines beyond safe limits. They're coming in hot. Weapons charge. Reynolds looked momentarily confused, his attention split between the immediate threat and his orders. Walker saw his chance. With a quick move, he lunged at Reynolds, knocking his weapon aside. The two men struggled briefly before Dr. Reed surprised everyone by stepping in with a medical injector. She pressed it against Reynolds' neck, and he slumped to the floor. Sedative, she explained simply. He'll be out for about an hour. Walker nodded his thanks. Jones, secure him in one of the empty quarters. He turned to Anna. How many Tauran ships? 5 warships, led by the Fist of Taurus, Atlas reported. It's commanded by Vex, one of their most experienced fleet captains. Anna's eyes widened. Vex. Commander Vex. You know him? Walker asked. Not personally, but from history. In my timeline, his grandson becomes the architect of the Human-Tauran Alliance. She moved to the captain's chair. Captain Walker, we can't fight the Taurans, and we can't run. We need to make them listen. They're not exactly known for listening, Walker reminded her. Then we make them see. Anna connected to the ship's systems again, her eyes glowing blue. The Phantom has communication technology that can override their security protocols. I can open a direct channel to Commander Vex's ship. Walker considered for a moment, then nodded. Do it. Anna worked with the ship's systems, her fingers dancing over the controls as her neural implants pulsed with light. The main screen flickered, then showed the bridge of a Tauran vessel. In the center stood a Tauran commander, tall with gray-blue skin and ridge-like formations on his skull that marked his rank and clan. "Human vessel," the Tauren said, his voice deep and harsh through the translator. "I am Commander Vex of the Tauren Protectorate. You have violated our territorial claims and engaged our scout ships. Surrender or be destroyed." "Commander Vex," Walker replied, stepping forward. "I am Captain James Walker of the Earth Defense Fleet. What happened to your scouts was a misunderstanding. We mean no harm to the Tauren people." Vex made a dismissive gesture. "Your intentions are irrelevant. That vessel you occupy, it is clearly a warship of advanced design. The Tauren High Command will not allow such a weapon in human hands so close to our territory." Anna whispered to Walker, "We need to show him the collective probe." Walker nodded slightly. "Commander Vex, we have detected something in this system that threatens both our peoples. If you would allow us to share our sensor data—" "More human tricks," Vex interrupted. "You have 5 minutes to surrender before we open fire." The communication ended abruptly. Walker turned to Anna. "That went well," he said dryly. "He's afraid," Anna explained. "The Phantom is larger and more powerful than anything in their fleet. He's afraid we're preparing for a first strike against the Tauren homeworlds." Foster looked up from his station. "Tauren ships are spreading out, surrounding our position. They'll have a clear shot no matter which way we move." "What about the stealth system?" Walker asked. Anna shook her head. "They've already locked onto us. The stealth drive works best before detection." Walker paced the bridge, thinking quickly. "Atlas, what weapons does the Phantom have that could disable but not destroy the Tauren ships?" "Several options, Captain," the AI replied. "The electromagnetic pulse that worked on their scouts would be ineffective against their capital ships. However, we have graviton disruptors that could temporarily disable their propulsion systems. That would just make them more desperate," Walker said. "We need something more convincing." He turned to Anna. "You said this ship was designed to demonstrate truth. What did you mean by that?" Anna's expression brightened. "The data projection system. It was created to share information across language and cultural barriers." She moved to another control station. "We can use it to show the Taurens exactly what the collective did to their worlds in my timeline." "Will it work at this distance?" Walker asked. "If we boost it with the main reactor, yes." She looked at Foster. "Engineer, I need full power to the quantum field generator." Foster hesitated only briefly before moving to help. "Just tell me what to do." As they worked, Dr. Reed returned to the bridge. "Tauren ships are charging weapons," she reported grimly. 2 minutes to their deadline," Atlas added. Walker watched as Anna and Foster frantically prepared the projection system. "Will you be ready in time?" "Almost there," Anna replied, her hands moving quickly across the controls. The Phantom was designed for this, to bridge understanding between species who would otherwise destroy each other. 30 seconds, Atlas warned. Anna looked up, her eyes now blazing with blue light. "Ready. Activating quantum field projection now." The ship hummed as energy flowed through its systems. Outside, in the space between the Phantom and the Tauren vessels, light began to gather and form shapes. The projection grew larger until it surrounded all 6 ships in a sphere of light and images. Inside this massive projection, the Taurens could see their own homeworld, not as it was now, but as it would be after the collective invasion. Cities in ruins, their people connected to horrific biomechanical constructs, their individuality erased as they were absorbed into the hive mind. Then the projection shifted, showing humans and Taurens fighting side by side against the collective. At the center of one battle stood an older Tauren who bore a striking resemblance to Commander Vex. His grandson, Anna whispered to Walker. General Vex of the Allied fleet, who died saving 3 human colonies from assimilation. The projection faded, leaving the ships floating in darkness once more. The bridge was silent as they waited for the Tauren response. "Did it work?" Walker finally asked. Before Anna could answer, the communication screen activated again. Commander Vex appeared, his expression unreadable to human eyes. "Captain Walker," he said slowly, "what trickery is this?" "Not trickery, Commander," Walker replied. "A warning from the future. The ship we occupy was sent back in time to prepare us for a war against an enemy that threatens both our species." Vex was silent for a long moment. "You claim these images are from our future?" "Yes," Walker confirmed. "A future where the collective, a hive-mind species, nearly destroys both humanity and the Tauran Protectorate. And the Tauran in your vision, the one who resembled me." "Your grandson," Anna said, stepping forward. "In my timeline, he becomes a hero to both our peoples." Vex's eyes narrowed. "Prove it. Show me something only my descendant would know." Anna closed her eyes, searching the Phantom's database. "The mark on your left forearm. 3 parallel lines representing the Oath of Solitude. Your grandson carries the same mark, but adds a 4th line to honor you after your death defending the Tauran colony on Bellerophon." Vex's expression changed, showing genuine surprise. He instinctively touched his left arm, where the mark was hidden beneath his armor. "That mark is a family secret," he said quietly. Then, more loudly to someone off-screen, "Stand down, weapons. Cancel the attack." He looked back at Walker. "Captain, I do not fully believe your story yet, but I am interested in hearing more." 6 hours later, Captain Walker sat at a large table in the Phantom's conference room. On one side sat Commander Vex and 2 Tauran officers. On the other side were Walker, Anna, and Dr. Reed. The air was tense, but no longer hostile. "Let me understand this clearly," Vex said, his translator converting his rough speech to English. "This ship was sent from over 150 years in the future, where both our species face extinction from these collective beings." "Yes," Anna confirmed. "In my timeline, humanity and the Tauran Protectorate only formed an alliance after both had suffered terrible losses. We hope to change that." Vex tapped his clawed fingers on the table. "And you claim their scout is already in this system, decades before they should arrive." "We detected it with the Phantom's long-range sensors," Walker said. "We're as surprised as you are." Atlas projected an image of the small probe at the edge of the system. "It appears to be gathering data on all planetary bodies and transmitting it somewhere outside the system." Vex leaned forward. "If what you say is true, we should destroy this probe immediately." Anna shook her head. "That would only alert them that we've detected their presence. In my timeline, the collective sent dozens of probes before they revealed themselves. If one goes missing, they'll know something is wrong." "Then what do you suggest?" Vex asked. Before Anna could answer, Foster burst into the room. "Captain, Earth ships approaching. 3 heavy cruisers. They'll be here in 20 minutes. Walker stood quickly. "The containment team Reynolds called for. They're early too." Vex rose to his feet. "Is this some kind of trap, human?" "No," Walker assured him. "Those ships are coming to seize the Phantom. They don't know about our discussions." "Then we have a problem," Vex said grimly. "My orders were clear. Prevent humans from obtaining advanced military technology in this sector. If your ships try to take this vessel, we will be forced to intervene." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. A confrontation between Earth and Tauran forces could start the very war they were trying to prevent. Anna's eyes suddenly widened. "The probe. It's moving." Everyone rushed back to the bridge. On the main screen, they could see the collective probe had changed course and was now headed toward the inner system, directly toward their position. It must have detected the energy signatures from both fleets, Atlas theorized. The collective is always drawn to signs of advanced technology. "How long until it reaches us?" Walker asked. "At its current speed, approximately 40 minutes, Atlas replied. Anna turned to Walker and Vex. "This changes everything. If the probe scans the Phantom, it will recognize the technology from my time. The collective will know we have foreknowledge of them." "So we destroy it now," Vex insisted. "We can't," Anna argued. Not with Earth ships approaching. Any weapons fire could be misinterpreted as an attack. Walker paced the bridge, thinking furiously. We need a plan that addresses all three problems. The Earth containment team, your fleet's orders, and the approaching probe. Anna's expression suddenly changed as an idea formed. What if we let them all see each other? What do you mean? Walker asked. The collective, Earth, and the Taurans. What if we make them all confront each other at once? She turned to Atlas. The Phantom has a capture field, doesn't it? Yes, the AI confirmed. Designed to temporarily immobilize small vessels for boarding operations. Anna looked at Walker and Vex. Here's what we do. We let the Earth ships arrive. We let the probe get close enough to detect all of us. Then we use the capture field on the probe and force all sides to witness what it truly is. Vex considered this a risky plan. What if the Earth ships fire on my fleet? I'll speak to them, Walker promised. I'm still a fleet captain. They'll listen long enough for us to show them the probe. And what about other collective ships? Vex asked. Won't capturing their probe bring more of them? Eventually, yes, Anna admitted, but not immediately. Their nearest ship is still years away. This gives us time to prepare, together. Walker looked at Vex. Commander, I know trust doesn't come easily between our peoples, but right now we face a choice between a possible future war with each other or a certain future war with the collective. At least with each other, we have a chance. Vex was silent for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. Very well, Captain Walker. We will try your plan. 30 minutes later, 3 Earth heavy cruisers dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the moon's orbit. They immediately detected both the Phantom and the 5 Tauran warships. Earth vessels, this is Captain James Walker. Walker broadcast from the Phantom. Hold your position and do not engage the Tauran ships. We have a situation that concerns Earth's security. Captain Walker, this is Admiral Garcia, came the reply. You are ordered to surrender that vessel immediately. The Tauran presence constitutes a clear threat. Admiral, I respectfully request 5 minutes to explain. Walker insisted. What we've discovered affects both Earth and the Tauran Protectorate. There was a pause before the Admiral replied. 5 minutes, Captain. No more. As they waited, the collective probe continued its approach, now close enough to be visible on standard sensors. All ships are in position, Foster reported. The probe will be in range of the capture field in 60 seconds. Walker nodded to Anna. It's time. Anna connected with the ship's systems and activated a broadband transmission to all vessels. Attention all ships. We are about to show you evidence of a threat greater than any conflict between our species. Atlas, activate the projection system. The space between the ships lit up with images from the future. Earth cities in ruins, Tauran worlds burning, and the horrific biomechanical ships of the collective consuming everything in their path. This is our future. Anna's voice echoed across all channels, unless we stand together. As the projection continued, the probe came within range. Activating capture field now, Anna announced. A blue energy beam shot out from the Phantom, enveloping the small probe. It struggled briefly before being pulled toward the assembled ships. All vessels, direct your scanners at the captured object, Walker ordered. You'll detect technology unlike anything from Earth or the Tauran Protectorate. For several tense moments, there was silence across all channels as both fleets analyzed the probe. Finally, Admiral Garcia's voice came through. Captain Walker, our readings confirm. This is not technology we recognize. What is it? It's called the Collective, Walker explained. A hive mind species that will threaten both humanity and the Taurans. The ship I'm on was sent back from the future to warn us and help us prepare. This is difficult to believe, Garcia said cautiously. Admiral. Commander Vex cut in. My fleet has verified these readings independently. Whatever this device is, it is scanning all our ships and transmitting data to somewhere outside known space. I suggest we continue this discussion face to face. All three parties. There was another long pause before Garcia responded. Agreed. We will send a shuttle to the future vessel. Hours later, Walker stood on the bridge of the Phantom with Anna at his side. Through the main viewport, they could see both Earth and Tauran ships now positioned in a defensive formation around the mysterious warship. They're actually working together, Walker said with wonder in his voice. The first step, Anna replied. There will be many challenges ahead. But this is how it begins. Atlas appeared beside them. The cryopods are preparing to revive the rest of the crew. The Phantom is now at full operational capacity. Walker turned to Anna. So what happens now? She smiled slightly. Now we build something that wasn't possible in my timeline. A united defense against the collective. The warship that shouldn't exist has given humanity and the Taurans the one thing we never had before. What's that? Walker asked. A fighting chance, Anna replied, looking out at the stars. And sometimes that's all we need. As the Phantom hummed with power and purpose, the impossible ship from the future prepared for a war that hadn't yet begun. But this time, they wouldn't face it alone.